Have you ever wondered why Europe is called a continent? After all, it's not surrounded by vast oceans like Africa, Australia, or the Americas. Instead, Europe shares a massive landmass with Asia, together forming what geographers call Eurasia. So why do we treat Europe as a separate continent? What makes it unique enough to stand on its own? Today, we will embark on a fascinating journey through geography, history, culture, and science to uncover the reasons behind Europe's status as a continent, from ancient myths to modern political borders, from natural landmarks to cultural identities. This story reveals how Europe became one of the world's most distinct and influential regions. Chapter 1. What is a continent? Before we dive into Europe's story, let's clarify what a continent actually is. At first glance, it seems simple. Continents are large, landmasses separated by oceans. But the reality is far more complex. The word continent comes from the Latin continere, meaning to hold together. Traditionally, continents are defined by large, continuous expanses of land, ideally separated by water. This is why Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, South America, Australia, and Antarctica are commonly listed as the 7 continents. But what about Europe and Asia? They share the same gigantic landmass without a vast ocean between them. Geologists often refer to this combined landmass as Eurasia. So, is Europe really a continent or just a large peninsula of Asia? The answer lies not only in geography but also in history, culture, and human perception. Continents are, in many ways, a human construct. The boundaries we draw on maps are influenced by natural features like mountains and rivers, but also by cultural, historical, and political factors. For example, Europe and Asia are separated by a series of natural landmarks, the Ural Mountains, the Ural River, the Caspian Sea, the Caucasus Mountains, and the Black Sea. These features serve as a kind of border, but they don't represent a clear-cut division like an ocean. In contrast, the Americas are separated from Europe and Africa by the vast Atlantic Ocean, a natural and unmistakable boundary. Some geographers argue that continents should be defined by size and isolation. By this criterion, Europe is the smallest continent, covering about 10 million square kilometers, roughly 2% of the Earth's surface. But Europe is not isolated by water from Asia, which makes it unique among continents. Instead, its isolation is cultural and historical rather than purely geographic. Chapter 2. Europe's geographic boundaries. So, what exactly are Europe's geographic boundaries? Let's explore them in detail. To the west, Europe is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean, a vast expanse of water that clearly separates it from North America. To the north, the Arctic Ocean forms a natural boundary, with the icy waters encircling the northernmost parts of Scandinavia and Russia. To the south, Europe meets the Mediterranean Sea, a historic crossroads of civilizations. The Mediterranean separates Europe from Africa, with the narrow Strait of Gibraltar connecting the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean coastline has played a crucial role in Europe's development, facilitating trade, cultural exchange, and conquest for thousands of years. The eastern boundary of Europe is the most debated and complex. Unlike the clear oceanic boundaries to the west and south, Europe's eastern frontier is defined by a series of natural landmarks that are not always obvious or agreed upon. Most geographers place the boundary at the Ural Mountains, a mountain range running north to south through western Russia. The Ural Mountains are often called the spine of Eurasia and mark a significant geological and cultural divide. From the southern end of the Ural Mountains, the boundary continues along the Ural River, flowing into the Caspian Sea, the world's largest inland body of water. The Caspian Sea itself is a unique feature, bordered by Russia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Iran, and Azerbaijan. From the Caspian Sea, the boundary extends to the Caucasus Mountains, which stretch between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. The Caucasus region is a melting pot of languages, cultures, and ethnic groups, making it one of the most diverse areas in the world. The Black Sea then forms part of the southern boundary before Europe meets the Mediterranean. But why were these particular natural features chosen as Europe's eastern boundary? The answer lies partly in geography and partly in history. The Ural Mountains and Caucasus Mountains are significant physical barriers that historically limited movement and interaction between peoples. Moreover, these landmarks roughly correspond to cultural and political divisions that have existed for centuries. Chapter 3. The historical origins of Europe's continental identity. The concept of Europe as a distinct continent dates back over 2,500 years to ancient Greece. The ancient Greeks divided the known world into 3 parts: Europe, Asia, and Libya. This tripartite division was based on the lands surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. Europe was considered the land to the north and west of the Aegean Sea, Asia to the east, and Libya to the south. The name Europe itself comes from Greek mythology. Europa was a Phoenician princess, whom Zeus abducted in the form of a bull and carried to Crete. Her name became associated with the lands north of the Mediterranean. This myth symbolizes the early Greeks' view of Europe as a land of mystery and promise, distinct from Asia and Africa. Ancient geographers like Herodotus and Ptolemy expanded on this division. They mapped the world as they knew it and reinforced the idea of Europe as a separate entity. Ptolemy's geography in the 2nd century AD was especially influential, providing detailed maps that shaped European geographic understanding for centuries. The Roman Empire further cemented Europe's identity. Although the empire stretched across Europe, North Africa, and parts of Asia, the Romans saw Europe as a core region of their civilization. Roman law, language, and infrastructure laid the foundations for many modern European countries. Chapter 4. Europe's cultural and political identity. Europe's identity as a continent is deeply tied to its cultural and political history. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century, Europe entered the Middle Ages, a period marked by the rise of kingdoms, the spread of Christianity, and the formation of new cultural identities. The Christian Church became a unifying force across Europe, distinguishing it from neighboring regions with different religions and traditions. The Renaissance, beginning in the 14th century, sparked a revival of art, science, and philosophy in Europe. This period emphasized humanism and rediscovered classical knowledge, further defining Europe's unique cultural heritage. The Enlightenment of the 17th and 18th centuries promoted reason, individualism, and scientific inquiry, values that shaped modern European societies. By the 19th century, Europe was divided into nation-states, each with its own language, culture, and government. These political entities reinforced the idea of Europe as a collection of distinct yet interconnected countries. Europe's influence extended far beyond its borders through exploration, colonization, and trade. European powers shaped the modern world's political, economic, and cultural landscape. This global role further solidified Europe's identity as a distinct continent with a shared heritage. Chapter 5. Geological perspective. Europe on the Eurasian plate. From a geological standpoint, Europe and Asia lie on the same tectonic plate, the Eurasian plate. The Eurasian plate is one of the Earth's largest tectonic plates, covering most of Europe and Asia. This means there is no geological fault or oceanic divide separating Europe from Asia, despite sharing the same plate. Certain geological features like the Ural Mountains are ancient mountain ranges formed by tectonic activity hundreds of millions of years ago. These features serve as natural markers distinguishing Europe from Asia, but they do not represent a tectonic boundary. This raises an important point. Continents are not defined solely by geology. While tectonic plates provide a scientific framework, human geography, culture, history, and politics plays an equally vital role. Chapter 6. Modern political and cultural Europe. Today, Europe is a continent of remarkable diversity and unity. The European Union represents a unique political and economic union of 27 countries. It embodies the idea of European unity while respecting national identities. Europe is home to over 200 languages, grouped into several major language families: Indo-European, Uralic, Turkic, and others. This linguistic diversity reflects the continent's complex history of migration, conquest, and cultural exchange. From the flamenco dances of Spain to the folk music of Eastern Europe, the continent's cultural traditions are vibrant and varied. Festivals, cuisine, art, and architecture all contribute to Europe's rich tapestry. Europe faces challenges such as political fragmentation, migration, and economic disparities. Yet, its shared history and institutions provide a foundation for cooperation and progress. Chapter 7. The debate: is Europe really a continent? Despite centuries of tradition, the question remains: is Europe truly a continent? From a purely geological perspective, Europe is not a separate continent. It's part of the Eurasian landmass, without a clear physical separation. Continents are as much cultural and historical concepts as physical ones. Europe's distinct identity justifies its classification as a continent. Most agree that Europe's status is a blend of geography and human factors. It is a continent because people have long viewed it as one. Conclusion: Europe's story is a fascinating example of how geography, history, and culture intertwine to shape our understanding of the world. It is a continent not just because of mountains or rivers, but because of the ideas, peoples, and civilizations that have called it home. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this documentary, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Is Europe truly a continent? We want to hear from you.